Born into a wealthy family in Rajasthan, Anvesha Dev was a privileged woman who took immense pride in her wealth, status, and family prestige. She believed everything in the world was at her feet. To her, ordinary people were mere servants, attendants, or background characters. The household staff trembled under her arrogance and temper. Among them was a quiet, simple young man named Ravanath. Anvesha often humiliated him for her amusement, yelling at him for minor mistakes or belittling his work to make him feel inferior. Life went on at its usual pace until one day, fate took a drastic turn, changing everything. Anvesha, accompanied by her husband, Arjun Dev, a prominent industrialist and two wealthy friends, set off for a luxurious vacation on the shores of Kerala. They arrived on their private plane and rented a yacht for a sea excursion. When they boarded, the captain, Brajesh Nair, greeted everyone with a warm smile. While the others shook his hand cheerfully, Anvesha, true to her haughty nature, turned away without acknowledging him. The yacht's crew exchanged glances, stunned by her rudeness. Ravanath, who worked on the yacht, was also present. Her attitude grated on him, but he stayed silent, carrying their luggage to their cabins. Nothing pleased Anvesha, not the yacht's simplicity, the cabin, or the food. She found fault with everything. With a sneer, she asked, "There's got to be a gym here, right?" Ravanath, with a faint smile, placed an old exercise bike in front of her and said, "Here you go, ma'am. This might do the trick." Her face flushed with anger at his subtle jab. "Do you know who you're talking to? I could have you fired," she snapped. Ravanath lowered his gaze but thought to himself, "One day, if fate turns, this pride will come crashing down." The next day, the group ventured into the sea on smaller boats for a diving trip. While the others jumped into the water, laughing and celebrating, Anvesha sat on a rock sulking. She was afraid of the water. "Ravi, stay here with me," she ordered imperiously. Reluctantly, Ravanath stayed behind. After a while he said, "Ma'am, sometimes facing your fears is the greatest courage. You might enjoy the water if you try." Anvesha shot back sharply. "Now you're going to tell me what to do." Ravanath fell silent. The gentle waves lapped against the boat, but an odd silence hung between them. The following morning, while Anvesha exercised on the shore, Ravanath was nearby, cleaning. Sweating and working hard, he toiled while Anvesha's face bore her usual smug grin. "People like you are always stuck in the dirt," she said, sipping water as if speaking to him diminished her status. Ravanath bowed his head, but inside, something began to burn. Perhaps this was the moment fate began plotting to shatter Anvesha Dev's arrogance. When she continued her insults, Ravanath quietly walked away, his heart smoldering with suppressed anger, though his face remained calm. At lunchtime, the group gathered on the yacht's deck. The sun was soft, the blue sea sparkled, and a gentle breeze blew. Everyone ate happily, except Anvesha, who, as usual, found no joy in anything. "This food is cold," she barked. "Ravi, don't you know to heat it up?" Ravanath clenched his fist for a moment, a flash of anger crossing his face, but he quickly composed himself. For a fleeting second, he imagined dumping the food on her, just as she poured venom on him daily. But he knew it was a thought he couldn't act on. He went to the kitchen, where Captain Brajesh and the crew were preparing food. "This woman's always spewing venom," Ravanath muttered. Brajesh smiled and said, "Son, that's how rich folks are. We just smile and bear their tantrums. Time takes care of them, not us." Ravanath took a deep breath and stayed quiet. Anvesha's behavior grew worse with each passing day. She even spoke rudely to Captain Brajesh, saying, "These servants disgust me. Tell them to stay out of my sight." A heavy atmosphere settled over the yacht. Everyone tried to avoid her, but Ravanath had no choice. He was constantly around her. Her arrogance, her shouting, and her sharp tone began to wear down his patience. He started avoiding her gaze, but fate seemed to keep bringing them face to face. One night, under a moonlit sky casting silver over the sea, Anvesha, intoxicated and stumbling, came onto the deck. By chance, Ravanath was passing by, and she bumped into him. "Can't you watch where you're going?" she slurred rudely. A spark of resentment burned in Ravanath, but he held himself back. She laughed, a mocking, scornful laugh, as if taunting him. In a cold tone, he said, "I wouldn't want to spend a single moment with a woman like you." and walked away. Inside, a storm of anger and pain raged. The next morning, Anvesha insisted. I want to go fishing today. Ravanath tried to dissuade her. Ma'am, the weather's turning bad. It's dangerous to go now. But Anvesha never listened. I said I'm going, so we're going. Defeated, Ravanath took her out on a motorboat into the deep sea. For a while everything was fine. Then suddenly the engine stopped. Despite his efforts, Ravanath couldn't restart it. Checking the fuel, he realized they were out of gas. What do you mean the boat's dead? Start it now. Anvesha screamed. I told you not to go, but your stubbornness got us stuck here. Now we just wait, Ravanath replied. Her face reddened with fury. Get me out of here, or you'll regret it. The sea was merciless. Waves roared around them as the day faded into night. Darkness enveloped them, and they had neither food nor water left. The next day, the sun blazed overhead. Anvesha's arrogance began to fade under the weight of hunger, thirst, and fear. She spotted a flare gun in a box. Give it here. We can signal for help, she shouted. Ravanath warned. That's a flare gun, ma'am. Be careful. One mistake could end everything. Stranded in the vast ocean, where the sky seemed to press down on them, it was as if nature had brought Anvesha face to face with her own pride. Time seemed to stand still. The sun scorched their heads, thirst cracked their lips, and hunger burned their stomachs. Ravanath, summoning his strength, fashioned a net and caught a small fish. He offered it to Anvesha. Eat this. It'll give you some strength. But her pride lingered. This is filthy. I don't eat such things, she said, tossing the fish away. Ravanath lowered his eyes for a moment. I wonder if people like you still think you're above everyone, even when you're starving and humiliated, he muttered. Suddenly, Anvesha pointed to the sea. Look, a boat. Hope flickered in their eyes. She grabbed the flare gun and tried to fire it skyward, but her hands trembled. The flare misfired, hitting their rubber boat. A loud hiss followed as the boat began to deflate. What have you done? Ravanath yelled. It was too late. The boat wobbled, water seeping in. They clung to the remaining half, struggling to stay afloat. Night fell. Storm clouds roared, lightning flashed, and the sea turned wild. Rain washed away everything, pride, fear, voices. Anvesha screamed, but her voice drowned in the storm's fury. Ravanath held onto the boat's edge with both hands. Hold on. Morning will come, he shouted. They battled the storm all night, utterly alone. When dawn broke, a faint ray of sunlight touched their faces, and they spotted a small island in the distance, a glimmer of hope, as if fate had granted them another chance. They reached the shore, and Anvesha collapsed onto the sand, gasping for breath. But the next moment, her old self resurfaced. My lawyer will deal with you, she snapped. You left me to die here. You'll rot in jail. Exhausted, Ravanath replied. Do whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. And honestly, it's better to stay away from a woman like you. They went their separate ways on the deserted island, where only the sound of the wind broke the silence. Ravanath found an old hut on one side of a hill, likely abandoned years ago. He cleaned it, patched the roof with leaves, and fetched water from a stream. He rigged a makeshift fishing tool from sticks. Meanwhile, Anvesha wandered the jungle, surrounded by eerie silence. Exhausted, she hid behind a tree and watched Ravanath from afar. The servant she always belittled was now calmly roasting a fish, eating in peaceful solitude. Hunger began to chip away at her pride. She approached him slowly. Give me some, she said softly. Ravanath paused, then looked at her. No. You've always mocked me. Now you'll have to face your hunger alone. Furious, Anvesha snapped. I'll buy it from you. 1,000 rupees. Or take my gold bangle. Ravanath took the bangle, then tossed it to the ground with a smile. Your wealth means nothing here, ma'am. Only hunger speaks, not pride. Her face flushed with anger. She threw dirt at him. Ravanath's patience snapped. He slapped her hard. Listen up. From now on, you're my servant. I'm the master on this island, and you'll do as I say. If you want food, call me master. Wash my clothes, dry them, and fetch water. Then maybe I'll give you something to eat. Anvesha gritted her teeth in rage but had no choice. She went to the stream, washed his clothes, spread them on rocks, and returned by evening. Ravanath took a deep breath. Now fetch water. Then you might get food. For the first time, the privileged woman who never lifted a finger was trudging through the jungle with a bucket, like a common servant. The roots of her pride were weakening. Anvesha obeyed Ravanath silently, doing all he asked, washing clothes, fetching water. Exhaustion struck the first blow against her arrogance. When she returned, Ravanath placed a roasted fish in front of her. Eat. She hesitated, staring at it. Once she'd scream over a single cold grain. Now she slowly ate the half-raw, smoke-blackened fish. Ravanath watched her quietly. Part of him felt pain, but he knew this pain was the antidote to her toxic pride. As night fell, the sea breeze grew cold. Ravanath went into the hut and said, "There's no room for you here. Sleep outside under the sky." "But it's freezing," she protested. "This island wasn't made for pampered princesses." "Learn to live with the conditions," he replied. That night, lying on the sand, staring at the sky, Anvesha reflected on her life for the first time. The woman who once took pride in belittling others now lay humbled, tears mingling with the earth. Morning came, the sun spreading golden light. Ravanath and Anvesha went fishing by the shore. Ravanath's demeanor had hardened, as if he felt powerful. He left most tasks to Anvesha, rebuking her coldly if she showed the slightest hint of pride. Over time, his attitude grew stricter. One day, as Anvesha returned with firewood, Ravanath suddenly said, "Sing a song today. That one you used to love." Stunned, she asked, "What song?" "Yes, sing and smile, like you have no complaints about life." Reluctantly, she sang in a soft voice, her words scattering into the air as if the sea itself were listening. A strange peace settled on Ravanath's face. The woman once consumed by pride was beginning to become human. Anvesha washed his clothes, gathered firewood, fetched water, and sometimes they laughed together. Slowly, an unspoken bond formed. A relationship born of hatred but reshaped by time into something new. One day, while Anvesha cooked a fish, Ravanath approached and said, "I have a scar on my hand. Give it a little kiss." Shocked, she snapped, "Are you out of your mind? I just want to see if your pride's still alive or dead." Silence fell. Her hands trembled, but she leaned down and lightly kissed his hand, a hesitant gesture. Ravanath said nothing. He knew this wasn't victory. It was the birth of understanding. He wanted her to learn that true strength lay not in wealth but in humility. From that day, Anvesha stopped giving orders and began asking for tasks. Ravanath softened too. On that lonely island, where the air carried the scent of solitude, a new feeling grew. Not quite love, but certainly humanity. Ravanath's heart wrestled with conflicting emotions. He'd seen Anvesha humiliated for days, but now as she sat quiet, weak, and ashamed, pity began to replace his anger. He wanted her to understand that a person's true worth lies in their heart, not their wealth. So he was sometimes harsh, sometimes gentle, hoping she'd change within. One night, with the sea calm and the moon bathing the island in silver, Anvesha sat alone on the shore. The waves seemed to echo her old life, noise, commands, pride, loneliness. The next morning, she approached Ravanath, tears in her eyes, her once defining arrogance shattered. "I was wrong," she said, her voice trembling. "I treated everyone terribly. I'm sorry, Ravi." He placed a hand on her shoulder and said softly, "Anvesha, a person changes when they recognize themselves. You've taken that step. I forgive you." In that moment, something shifted. They were no longer master and servant, but two people who needed each other. They worked together, fishing, fetching water, improving the hut, and life felt simpler. Slowly, a gentle bond formed. When she laughed, Ravanath smiled. When she tired, he quietly fetched water for her. Time passed, and one night, with the air heavy with moisture and peace, they opened their hearts to each other. It wasn't love, perhaps, but a moment of two broken souls finding solace. The hut became Anvesha's home. Ravanath said, "Look, this is life. No grandeur, no luxury, just a simple heart and peace." One day he asked, "Why were you so harsh? Why did you hate everyone?" Anvesha sighed deeply. "Because no one ever understood me. Arjun, my husband, chased only wealth. I was alone, but no one saw my loneliness. I turned to anger, pushing people away, maybe hating myself. But you showed me what it means to be human. Ravanath looked into her eyes. You took your time, but you found yourself. That's enough. Time seemed to pause. On the island, they lived as one, incomplete without each other. By day they fished. By evening they sat by the fire talking, sometimes laughing, sometimes falling silent over the past. One evening, as the sun sank into the sea, Anvesha went to gather firewood. Suddenly, she spotted a ship in the distance, aglow with lights and buzzing with noise. Her heart raced. We can be saved, she whispered. But then she glanced at the flare gun and stopped herself. For a moment she stood still, then said to herself, if I go, I'll lose him. And maybe all this will feel like a betrayal. That night, she returned to the hut quietly, saying nothing to Ravanath. Her heart no longer yearned for her old world of hollow smiles and pretense. The night deepened, the air cool. In the hut they found an old bottle. Ravanath laughed. Probably left by some traveler. They opened it, sipping slowly. Laughter filled the air, and the sea listened in silence. That night, they danced late, as if shedding life's weariness through their movements. They'd grown so close that words became unnecessary. Just peace remained, a peace neither had ever felt before. Ravanath still hoped someone would rescue them, but Anvesha wished time would freeze on that island, in that hut, where she'd finally become herself. As the sun set one evening, the air damp and the horizon glowing, Anvesha and Ravanath sat by the shore. Silent, their eyes spoke volumes. Softly, Anvesha said, if we leave, we'll be separated forever. Ravi, I don't want that. I've fallen in love with you, and I want these moments to last forever. Her voice carried a truth she'd never felt before. Ravanath took her hand, smiling gently. If our love is true, Anvesha, no distance can separate us. Love lives in hearts, not places. I believe you'll come back to me when I call. The moment dissolved into the sea's roar. Then Ravanath fired a flare into the sky. Hours later, a boat approached and rescued them. On the boat, they gazed at each other, as if their hearts knew this peace might never return. At the port, Arjun Dev was waiting. He rushed to Anvesha, embracing her. You're alive. I can't believe it. Ravanath stood back, watching. Arjun stepped forward, shaking his hand. You saved my wife. I'll never forget this. Here's my thanks. Ravanath lowered his eyes and walked away without a word. His face not peaceful but empty. Days later, Ravanath sat alone in a city club. A man approached, placing a bag on the table. From Arjun as a reward. Ravanath opened it. Bundles of cash. A bitter smile crossed his face. My conscience isn't for sale, he said, tossing the bag back. But as he left he paused, looked at the bag, and picked it up. On his way he stopped at a jewelry shop, his steps halting. He took some money from the bag and bought a beautiful, simple ring, sparkling yet unpretentious, like the new Anvesha, free of pride. The next morning he called her. Anvesha, I miss you so much. I wish we'd stayed on that island where there was peace. After a pause her voice came through. I haven't forgotten you, Ravi. I'll wait for your decision. I'm leaving tomorrow, but if you truly love me, leave a letter at the hotel reception. I'll take it. Ravanath did just that. That night he wrote, Anvesha, I want to marry you. Let's start a new life far away, with no world, no status, just you, me, and the peace we found on the island. Come to the port before sunrise. I'll wait for you forever. He left the letter with the ring at the reception. But fate built another wall. The next morning, Arjun found the letter first. He read it, smiled, and kept it from Anvesha. She waited, but no message came. Heart heavy with unanswered questions, she boarded a helicopter with Arjun, her eyes moist. Meanwhile, at the hotel, Ravanath stood alone, the weight of an unspoken goodbye lingering in the air.